Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
All right, welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Appreciate you being with us. I hope everyone managed to get through and get out of the Snowmageddon, as I think we had about a foot fall here. That's a lot, man. That's a lot of snow, but we knew it was coming, so everyone seemed to be pretty prepared for it. Tonight, Indiana's got a basketball game, though. The Boilermakers coming into town, and they're a little anxious, looking for a win, as they've lost 2 in a row. Could be a good time for Purdue, but could be an opportunity for Indiana. It is going to be a tough challenge, no doubt. Uncle Phil Cow said they're reeling and vulnerable right now. That's true, but they're also a wounded animal. And wounded animals can be dangerous. The thing about Purdue is Indiana has not had a great luck with defending really good perimeter players. And Purdue happens to have some good perimeter players. Of course, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer. Now, they've been slowed down, and that's what it takes. Can Indiana, they've had so much trouble with that this season. But that has certainly been an issue for the Hoosiers, and hopefully it will not continue to be one for them tonight. Appreciate you joining us here on this Tuesday edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Mike DeCourcy will join us here in a second. JD Campbell, Campbell's Corner. Brandon Gaudin joining us today. Voice of the Braves. And many others. Got lots more coming up. Gonna take a quick break. Mike DeCourcy back with us right after these messages.
Any More Honda Bloomington has the deals for you. Any More Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Any More Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on the Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Ball in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is fun day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Ball in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along, and always glad to have Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Jim. How are you?
Still trying to get reacclimated back to real life after that run and the time changes and all of that stuff. So, but yeah, it's cold, man. It's snowy. I assume you guys got hit like we did over there in Pittsburgh.
Yes, I did a little Twitter poll on Sunday evening after I had shoveled snow 4 times during the course of the day, working a little basketball and playoff football in around that 4 times. And so my question was how often others had shoveled their snow in their areas. And the potential answers were 3 or more, 2, 1, 0. And I did say, if you choose 0, I may consider blocking you. I haven't blocked anybody over that. A lot of people had fun with that. But the 0-1, that really was depressing, Jim. 0 was, I guess if you counted all the people who had to shovel snow, we were over 60%. But the 0 was the largest single answer.
I would have been in the 0 category.
Oh, no. Wow. How'd you pull that off?
Luckily, they have to shovel the snow at the condo where the studio is located.
Yeah,
so.
They got to do that here too, Jim. They still haven't been out.
Oh yeah, well, our guys were on it, baby.
We need to hire them.
I don't know if they did it twice, but at least it gives me a good indication. I can look out there. I'm like, damn, we got a foot of snow.
Easy.
I mean, a solid foot, and that is a lot when it hits at one time. And the last thing most people want to do is get out. And tonight you've got this gigantic ball game between Indiana and Purdue. You don't have you have a choice, but Indiana could sure use the help with the fans being in attendance. And the roads are probably fine by now. It's just still digging out and all of that. They had the football celebration Saturday. Hey,
yes.
There was a lot of people there for the conditions. This thing was sub-zero weather, people.
Oh, wow.
And sub-zero weather. And you had all of those people out there. I thought it was amazing that those people showed up.
That's awesome. To have that many people show up and celebrate the team in the way they did. I got to see clips of it, obviously, and it was aired on BTN as well. So I got to see a little bit of it live when it was on there, and they deserved all of that. They deserve to have the celebration in the way that it was, because it's just still among the most amazing things I've ever seen in sports, Jim. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who think they have the answer, including making up different reasons why they were able to do it. But this group just hit on a tremendous formula, and a great group. And it wasn't because they were older, and it wasn't because they did anything. They bought the team under the NIL rules. It wasn't that. They didn't outspend anybody. They just did a better job. They just did a better job. And I don't know why people have such a tough time accepting that sometimes Indiana or whoever can go out there and just get it done better. It happens.
Yeah, and fun to watch, and fun to watch, and to see that this program is here. It's a thing now. They're going to be good next year. I talked about this previously, but just knowing that that is still hard to comprehend. It's like, oh well, they're going to be competing for the Big Ten title. They may not win it, but they're going to be competing for it legitimately. And it's like, wow, it's just like, okay, that's just how it's going to be from now on. And that's still, I mean, I'm not going to make it difficult to adjust to. I'm just going to do it because, hey, I've always said it's a hell of a lot more fun to cover a winner.
Yeah, it's interesting. Over the weekend, Ohio State, which would be seen as one of the chief competitors for the Big Ten title, made a very interesting offensive coordinator hire, bringing in Arthur Smith from the Steelers, a gentleman that pleased very few Steelers fans and not many Falcons fans and maybe some Titans fans before them. And this is not a guy who has had tremendous success with wide receivers. The success he's had has been primarily in the running game. Back when he had Derrick Henry, they had great success in Tennessee. A lot of people complained about the fact that even in Atlanta, when he had Bijan Robinson, that he didn't make sufficient use of him. So now you come in and you bring Arthur Smith in to coach the terrific group of wide receivers that Ohio State has annually. I'm going to be very curious to see how that goes. If I were a Hoosiers fan, I don't think I'd be displeased by that development. I think I'd feel pretty good about the fact that Demetrius is maybe not, Jeremiah Smith is maybe not going to have quite the offensive design that he's had in the past. We'll see.
Yeah, something I've been reading in The Athletic, just kind of funny. This is the 35th anniversary of the Bob Knight secretly recorded Bob Knight rant in the locker room. And no one to this day still knows how that got out, who leaked it. And it's just funny because they talked to a bunch of players and managers, and it was funny to see the reaction of some of them. One of them's like, no friend of IU did that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? I think it's kind of funny. So
but I mean, like, okay, so who would have done it then? It wasn't like Purdue sent and put taps in there or something like that. I mean, somebody inside the program, very much inside the program, taped that and eventually decided to leak it. How long did it take for it to get out after it had happened?
That's a great question. I don't know, but it had to be a minute. But boy, this thing has had legs like nothing else. I mean, it's one of the great. It's funny because it's one of the great pieces of history to have.
Have you ever heard the Tommy Lasorda rant about Dave Kingman?
I don't think so.
Okay, so obviously you can't re-air that on your radio program. But if you want to entertain yourself, it is and listeners as well, fair warning, there is much profanity, but it is hilarious. It is one of the best pieces of audio. It's much funnier than Knight's was because one of the things that makes it funny is that he goes through this big litany of profanities about what Dave Kingman did on a day where he hit 3 home runs or 4. I don't remember exactly how many he hit against Dodgers pitching. I think it was a doubleheader, so he might have had 3 in one and 2 in the other, or something like that. And And so Lasorda goes and he goes and he goes, and then he kind of winds down and then he goes again. And that's what makes it great. So if you haven't heard that, go to YouTube or do a Google or whatever. Dave Kingman, Tommy Lasorda rant, it'll pop. And it's about 3 minutes long and it's hysterical. I still remember, like, I can hear in my head Bob Knight saying, if you're not going to recover Greg Graham, that of all the things he said, that's the one that's the line that sticks in my mind. There was so much in there and there's so many profanities, but I keep hearing that in my head. I don't know why that line stuck out to me more than any other.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, he quoted Pat Knight, said, we thought it was great. The thing that would have made us mad if the leaked audio would have been secrets, like from a basketball standpoint.
Yeah,
but that was just him chewing our asses. It's not like that was a secret.
Absolutely. That the other part of the rant that I remember is, I'm sick and tired. It's something like this. I'm sick and tired of an 8-10 record in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I remember.
You
as
think
well.
I'm going to effing sit around here with an 8-10 record? Oh yeah, and it's funny how some people can look at it with, like Pat Knight looks at it with humor, and then other people, former managers, are, oh man, they're all up in a roar about it because everybody probably thinks it was one of the managers that did it, but
yes.
Not necessarily. I mean,
no one knows.
Could have been a player, could have been an assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
But the sheer fact to record this that long ago, again, think about this, that time. Who the hell was thinking of doing stuff like that? That was not in our mindset at the time. So,
well, the dissemination of it was so much more difficult back then. You didn't have the internet or YouTube or whatever, or Twitter to just pop it on there and say, hey, listen to this. It wasn't there. And that's what makes the Lasorda tape and the Knight tape so fascinating, is that they established a life of their own, almost word of mouth in a sense, because there just wasn't the vehicle to share that in that way at the time those events happened. There was no connected device to share that, and other than the radio, and the radio was forbidden to play those things. And I like Uncle Phil there saying that maybe Bob did it himself. The problem is, I don't think Bob would have been like, he would have had to turn on the tape recorder and do all that. I don't think he'd have bothered because he was too mad.
Yes, no. And he did not like people hearing him get mad. That upset him, which is kind of weird. And I get it though. None of us like for people to see our faults. And that was one of his big ones, man. And he didn't like that getting out. None of that stuff that John Feinstein wrote. He did not like that, which I'm like, what did you think he was going to write, man?
That was the strangest thing, that he was mad at John over John publishing what he heard when you invited him into the locker room. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that he was so used to being covered by people, being covered up for people covering up for him, that maybe he just expected that he was just going to really flower that up somehow. And no, it was just as it was. And he was shocked. And I'm like, what the hell are you shocked about? Why do you think it was a bestseller? If he'd have flowered it up, it would not have been a bestseller. I promise you.
Definitely not. That was the thing about the season on the brink. That when I read it, I was like, yeah, I knew he yelled at people, and I figured he probably swore, and I never got a sense of why he did those things in the volume and ferocity that he did. I never really got done with the book and understood Bob any better.
That's it.
That's my guy, Brian Evans. Brian Evans is one of the greatest people on the planet. Let me tell you.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, I had to do a piece that about Indiana, and I needed to talk to Brian. And I never do this, Jim. I forgot about his interview and missed it. I got scheduled deep, and I forgot to call him. And he was like, "Oh, that's okay. We'll just talk." I mean, he's the nicest person on the planet. Couldn't say enough good things about Brian. And there's Bob yelling at poor Brian. Come on. How could you yell at that guy? He's the best.
I just love that clip, though. Hey, what in the hell are we doing here, Brian? And he's just, if you could see it, he just dotted his head down. He's just walking back toward the other end. It's just one of my favorite things just because of that brief moment. But yeah. Hey, we've got the great Mike DeCourcy with us from the Sporting News. We'll be back. We've got to talk some basketball. The Boilermakers are coming to town. The Big Ten is rolling, and the Boilermakers are in desperate need of a win. And they've only got 2 losses in the Big Ten season, so that's crazy. But appreciate you being with us. Lots more coming up. Back with all of that and more right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is Fun Day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas from mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on the Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to be with you. Glad to be inside. Unfortunately, Indiana plays Purdue tonight, and I am going to be forced to go outside. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News with me. I'm not looking forward to it, Mike. I don't want to go outside right now, and damn it, they've got.
I've been outside. I have been outside 4 times a day for the last, plus the snow shoveling, because I'm dog sitting. And so if I can take little DJ out 4 times a day, you can suck it up and go see a big hoop game.
I hear you. You're not lying. I'm sure our buddy Rick Bozich is getting off of his broken leg butt. He's got that fixed now, getting Ruby out for a walk as well down there in Louisville. But yeah, tonight, a big game for Indiana and a big opportunity. Purdue kind of, I don't want to say they're reeling. They've lost 2 in a row, but they lost on the road to UCLA in a dang tough game. And then they lost at home, a little surprise to Illinois. But it's not like this is a bit major upset. Illinois is a good team. It's one of the top, 6 teams in the Big Ten, which any team in that group is dang sure capable of beating you, much less probably a few below that. But there's going to be other teams that lose at the top. They just haven't played each other just yet, but man, it is as tough as we thought it was going to be, Mike. I mean, there are 5 teams that have 2 losses or less. Mainly all of them just have 1 loss. Purdue's the only team with 2.
It's a fantastic first group in the Big Ten. And there is some depth to the league, but the real excitement is at the top with Nebraska, Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue. Those teams are all fantastic. And I think that it does make it difficult on the other teams in the league to get those high-quality wins because they're so hard to beat. But UCLA pulled it off a few nights ago against the Boilers, and then Illinois gave Purdue's defense all kinds of fits, getting Keaton Wagler switched on to the preferred matchup every time they ran a ball screen. They'd just bring the ball screen out, and Purdue chose to switch everything, every one of those ball screens pretty much. And so they'd get the matchup that they wanted, and then Wagler would just go to work, and he was fantastic. That story is maybe in some ways even more astonishing than Braden Smith's was in terms of being underrated. And I'll tell you why. Braden had the issue of becoming a high school senior and a star at the time when the pandemic was on. So scouting wasn't as thorough as it was then, as it is normally. It was harder to get to see guys than it ordinarily would be. And so it was somewhat understandable that Braden would fall, that would fall in the rankings or would get missed or whatever. Hard to understand how the Mr. Basketball in Indiana could be 190th in his class, but at least there was an explanation. Keaton Wagler's out there doing whatever, winning state championships in Kansas, and he's 6'6", and he's got unbelievable point guard skill, and he's a great shooter. And hardly anyone recruited him, Jim. I think he was around 140, 150 in his class, and now he's going to be a lottery pick. And the first time I saw him suggested as a lottery pick, I think he was 15th in the first round. And I'm not a betting man, as you know, but I got a buck or two that says he's going higher than 15th.
And that's amazing because I have truly thought that he wouldn't get that accomplished. But if it happens, it's one of those cases where the person has willed themselves to become that good. And Braden Smith has had to overcome a lot. He's not big. He's not fast. He's not a lot of the things, but he's overcome them. And there's no doubt he is one of the top players in the country.
Oh, no doubt.
And someone that you have to know where the hell he is. He's not just a shooter. He's not just a scorer. He dishes the ball. Obviously, all-time assist leader in the Big Ten. He is fantastic. And this is their last hurrah, though. So there's some pressure on Purdue as well, I think, with that group, this core. They've been together the whole time, and it's now or never for them. And that's with this conference being the way it is. That's a tough chore in and of itself.
Yeah. Well, the problem Purdue has as a team, especially competing against teams like that, is that defensively there still are issues there. A year ago, I think they were 52 in Ken Palm. That's in defensive efficiency, and now they're up to 30th. But 30th isn't what wins national championships. You can get to the Final Four in any range. I mean, Alabama did in that 24 Final Four that where Purdue made it and Connecticut won it. Alabama made it in the hundreds because their offense was so good. And I think Purdue can go into any game with that offense and have a chance to win. Because of Braden, because Fletcher Lawyer, he's not shot the ball as well lately, but still a great shooter. CJ Cox has gotten better offensively. They still have Trey Kaufman-Wren as a threat. Oscar Clough can make a basket underneath. So they still have a lot of offensive assets, and they are on offense the second most efficient offense in college basketball. But to get to the mountaintop, which a lot of people had predicted in advance of the season, and I was not one, because I had my doubts about the degree of NBA level talent, which is an ingredient of basically every champion that we've seen, with the exception of Indiana '87, and as well as the nature of their defense. They don't block shots, Jim. And if you look at the champions that win it, and nearly everyone is effective in that area. I don't know that there are many exceptions at all to that. And Purdue is 182nd in block percentage. So it's not an asset. It's not an asset of their defense. They brought in Oscar Clough. They got bigger, and he's helped them. But he didn't really, if you looked at his numbers before he got there, you knew right away, well, he's not addressing that. He's not going to fix what's wrong there. He's going to make them bigger. It's going to make it harder to attack the rim against them. But what you need is someone that convinces everybody, no, I don't want to go in there. And that doesn't happen with this group.
Yeah, and they have, other thing. If you're looking at the national championship picture, there's other thing. I just don't think that they're strong enough all the way around. Pretty much like you just said, they don't do enough different things. Blocking shots is one of them, but also Trey Kaufman-Renn is an average inside presence, but it depends on who the defenders are. He can be shut down as well. And now, one thing Indiana has not done a good job is against good guards this year. It seems like they have let them go off every game, whether it was Nebraska, it didn't matter. And there's no doubt that this game will, to win this game, it starts and ends with guarding the guards. If you're not guarding on Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith and keeping them somewhat in check, you really don't really have a chance. This team, Trey Kaufman-Renn, I don't know who's going to slow him down, because that's something Indiana doesn't have, is a big inside presence. I think that's probably going to be a team effort. But they're going to need Nick Dorn. Someone mentioned him earlier. He's been the only kind of third guy, but he hasn't been a consistent third guy. They really haven't had a consistent second guy, as Tucker DeVries has really been up and down here of late. So they're going to have all this come together to have a chance in beating Purdue.
Yeah, it would have to be a great plan as well. If they go out without I think if they don't throw some change-ups, whether that would be zone or some pressure or something different, if they play it straight up, they'll have to just have a ridiculous shooting night to have a great chance to win. And they certainly are capable of that. But Purdue's offense, one of the things about Braden and slowing him down, Jim, is he's become so adept at creating his own shot and getting to that pull-up game. And it's because of that, you can't just play him to pass. You can't even play him for if the offense cycles and the ball comes back around to him, he's going to make that three. There are times when if you play him for the pass and you think, okay, we're going to take everybody else away and make him score, okay, he'll go out and get 30. I mean, he's not averse to that at all any longer. And with that pull-up game, he has the ability to get it. He is one of the best pull-up jump shooters in college basketball, one of the best we've seen right now. This version of Braden, the senior year version of Braden, is one of the best pull-up jump shooters that we've seen in a long time in college basketball.
No question, and Indiana is going to have the game of the season for them. Someone mentioned Clough versus Bailey is the clash of the mid-majors. We see that a lot, but there's some truth to that. Neither of those guys have done a lot, as you just mentioned, for a post presence kind of guy. Certainly not what Purdue is accustomed to, or Indiana for that matter.
I will say, I think Oscar's done a good job of being big, and I know that sounds obvious, but he's done a good job of filling the role that he was brought in to do, that what he's capable of. The problem with Oscar's presence is that he doesn't stretch the floor. He's not a face-up big at all. And so the great post play that you get out of Trey Kaufman-Renn, and that ideally, if you had someone who was someone like Zvonimir Ivisic at Illinois, if you had someone like that who stretches you away and as well can block shots, you would have someone that would complement Trey better. And I know that you don't get to go shopping or whatever and say, okay, I'll take one of those off the shelf. I know a lot of people think that's how it works, but it just happens that Oscar's skill set and Trey's skill set, they're kind of redundant a little bit. Oscar's just bigger and Trey's more skilled. And so you don't get the space for Trey that someone like Ivasic would give you if you had someone like that. It's kind of either or. The other guy just has to clear out, and then the second big doesn't have as much concern. If Trey drifts and you have Oscar inside, then the big doesn't have to go with Trey because he's not worried about the fact that he's going to make a 15-footer. One thing that Trey has been emphasizing more to try to make that work a little bit is that baseline half hook, the similar shot that beat the Hoosiers a year ago in the regular season when the Hoosiers put on such a great fight, but ended up losing because he made that shot in the final seconds. He's been doing that more just to try to get the defense to honor him when he comes out of the post so that Oscar has less traffic. So those are some of the things that Purdue has done to try to alleviate that, the congestion that can happen. And that's also where Braden can excel because he forces one of the two bigs, if not both, to deal with him when he hits the lane. Then you're either allowing a guy who is, like I said, magnificent on the pull-ups to shoot that shot relatively uncontested, or you're deciding, okay, I got to go chase that, and then maybe he slips the ball underneath you and gets another assist on the way to wrecking Bobby Hurley's record.
Is Duke that good, or is Louisville not that good? Number 20 Louisville lost to Duke last night, 83-52 at home. Yeah. I think.
Oh no, that was at Cameron.
That was at Cameron. Well, they did lose at home to them previously.
They did. Yeah, that was when I believe the first time around, Louisville did not have Michael Brown. This time they did, but Duke is really good, and Louisville is still trying to work things out from not having Michael Brown for such an extended period. They are not back to what they need to be. They not having such a prominent player and your point guard and a guy who's ball dominant. They had to fight their way through that. And now they're having to try to repair everything, trying to get everything back in order now that he's playing again. And it takes time. I didn't expect that it would be that one-sided. It was pretty competitive for about the first 10 minutes. And then the avalanche happened. And it was shocking to see how thorough the beating was ultimately. When you have players as good as Conwell and Brown out on the floor, you'd think that they would be able to at least keep it to 15, but that's not what happened.
And tonight there are Indiana is hosting Purdue, and there's a game that's even bigger than that in the Big Ten. So as hard as that is to imagine,
yes,
it a massive game with undefeated Nebraska traveling to Chrysler Arena to take on the Michigan Wolverines, who, what do they have? One loss, I think.
They have one loss season. Home against Wisconsin. And it's interesting because this is when we looked at it maybe back in December, we thought, oh, this is going to be a big time for Michigan because they've got Michigan State coming in on Friday the 30th. And then all of a sudden, Nebraska said, hey, wait a second. Don't go looking past us, man. We're here. So Nebraska, Michigan State in 1 week is a big week for Michigan. One of the interesting things about Michigan's season, and Michigan fans have not wanted to hear this, is that aside from playing Auburn and Gonzaga in the Players era all the way back in November, and Villanova to an extent as well, they haven't played the most difficult level of opposition. Now, they've beaten some, like I mentioned, Villanova is a pretty good team. They beat them by 28. USC's a pretty good team. They beat them by 30. Gonzaga's a top-end team. They beat them by 40. They did the same to Auburn, beat them by 30. They beat San Diego State by 40. So when they have played relatively high-quality teams, and only in that group would you call Gonzaga high-end, they've generally done really well, the Wisconsin game being the obvious exception. I mean, and when I say really well, I'm underestimating. They've just thrashed everybody. But they haven't played what they're going to play this week that often. They have had a less steady diet of high-end competition than just about anybody else at the top of the seed charts on my bracket, for instance, at Fox Sports or any of the other people who do that. They of the teams that are up there, most of them have had to bump their heads a few more times than Michigan has. But this week, Nebraska at home, Michigan State, they got to go up to East Lansing, over to East Lansing, I guess I should say. And that will be a real defining week for Michigan, because if they can get them both, then it's look out. Then it's like, okay, now we're talking about them in the same sentence as we're talking with Arizona, UConn, Duke.
Yeah, Nebraska is this Indiana football in basketball. And the funny thing is, Mike, we've talked about that in a few years past on how both of those programs were very similar in that regard. But now it's coming to real life, and Nebraska looking to do what Indiana football just did. I don't see that happening with the gauntlet they have to go through, or just more games, and but just a regular season. I can't imagine them getting through the regular season undefeated. That's a feat that hasn't happened since Indiana, I believe.
Yeah, it's regular season. It's happened 2015 with Kentucky, 2014 with Wichita State.
Oh, I meant in the Big Ten.
In the Big Ten. Yeah, I think you mean getting to the end of the regular season undefeated as a Big Ten member? Yes. That would be Indiana. Like I said, in the SEC, in the Valley, in the Atlantic 10 with St. Joe's in 2004. It has happened. Vegas in the Big West in 1991. So it has happened, but it hasn't happened in the Big Ten since the 76 Hoosiers. And even just even putting together just a perfect Big Ten record, I don't think that's happened very often as well. It's really hard to do that. And to do it, to get to March without a loss, and I'm not saying that's going to happen because I don't think it's going to happen, but if they somehow did in this Big Ten, that means they've already gotten Illinois once, they have Michigan, they'll have to play, and they've already gotten Michigan State once, but they'll still have to play. We mentioned Michigan State. Michigan State's great. So they're definitely going to have to play more high quality opponents through the course of February. February is an interesting month all across college basketball because most of the leagues have held out what they expected to be their best games to get to February to avoid football. But I will tell you, Jim, one thing about this. So they have Michigan tonight and then Illinois on Sunday. And then they are the beneficiaries of that front-loaded schedule because they went through some of their more difficult games already or will have by Sunday. And then from then on, you would look at it, they would be favored to win almost every game. They still have to go to Iowa, which won't be easy. Iowa's terrific. And then they have to make the SoCal trip to USC and UCLA. But this is a big week for the Huskers. If they can get through it, I mean, I don't think they will, but if they could, we really could start to talk about the possibility of them getting there.
And that would be crazy on the level of Indiana football this year. I mean, it's just wild to see great programs that were not your typical blue bloods rising up and challenging the establishment, so to speak.
One of the interesting things about that, Jim, too, is that they have faced the same degree of skepticism, similar degree of skepticism, even in basketball, which has always been more inclusive than college football has. even in this sport, they faced a lot of that resistance. You look at the polls, you look at the other brackets. I think there were 84 brackets when I last counted. It fluctuates depending on who posts when. I saw a one edition of the bracket matrix that was 84 brackets. There were 9 1 seeds for Nebraska. 9 out of 84, excuse me. How could you not have them as a 1 seed when they're undefeated in the Big Ten, having gone through Illinois and Michigan State? It boggles my mind. I won't take Nebraska down until they lose. And I'll only take them down if they lose, because if they lose tonight, they're going to lose to a team that is the literal number 5 on my bracket. They are the 5th overall team. There's only 4 1 seeds. So that's why they're not there now.
Yeah. Something else going on, Duke and their quarterback. That has been settled. Mensa, who is most likely going to Miami. They reached a settlement and praised him for his professionalism and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, hey, okay, whatever. You were suing him a week ago, but
that must have been in the agreement that the legal.
Oh
agreement
yeah.
That, have to say nice.
You
things
have to
about
talk
us
nice
today.
about each other. Yeah. Of course, because they are acting like he's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, that he has to give that to President Trump. But that's something else. But it's funny. But then you've got the tampering case between Clemson and Ole Miss, the new coach too, not Lane Kiffin. It's Pete Golding, who was texting this guy of Clemson's while he was in class at Clemson. And so they're like, okay, here we go. And they're not hiding anything. They're like, here's the evidence, blam, boom. This is needed. This is something that has to happen, because and I'm not saying it's going to stop it even when it does, but it will at least give people pause and knowing that, hey, if I text this guy, I'm putting proof out there.
The good news about that episode is that the young man was in class, because there's so many people out there who think nobody's going to class anymore, and he was in class. So
I didn't think of that.
There you go. All the people who keep saying this stuff, that they're not going to class anymore and nobody's going to graduate and all that stuff. He was in class. He may have taken a text while he should have been listening to the professor, but he was in class.
Which is a good thing, because that's certainly not where Carson Beck was as he was preparing for this year's national championship. Still wondering if he was taking any classes at all.
Well, I mean, he had to be enrolled. Remember, he's a graduate. He has to be enrolled. You can't not be enrolled. You can't not be. Now, he could have been enrolled and decided to basically tank all his classes because he already has a degree. Or if he wanted, he could have chosen to pursue a master's or whatever.
But he couldn't have tanked all of his classes, because you have to maintain a certain GPA to maintain eligibility, don't you?
But he didn't have to be eligible for 2026. He only had to be you can't flunk out when you are within the boundaries.
But if you flunked out of that semester, that makes you ineligible for the semester that you just played.
Yeah, but I think that football's different because it's all one season, and so I don't think that it's the same. Like if you were a basketball player and you tanked your fall semester, you probably couldn't play in the spring. But football is considered a one semester sport, so I think they're stretching every technicality there, and maybe that was what allowed him. And I don't know. He may have gone to class and done the work in the fall. We don't know. What bothered me was the question itself was a setup question, Jim, and it was kind of ridiculous, because if the question were asked in November, it would have been a fair question. But the question asked on January 19th or whatever it was, January 16th or whatever, that's not a fair question, because again, he clearly does not have to be enrolled for the spring semester to play in that game. He doesn't, because he's going to be a professional football player of to some degree.
Oh well, yeah. Every football player that is going up to the league, they're gone. They're gone. They're in Miami. They're in Jacksonville. They're wherever training, preparing for the upcoming NFL draft, preparing for the upcoming NFL Combine. They are not. And then they're not training in Bloomington or Columbus or Ann Arbor or any of these other cold, snowbound places, baby.
And we're talking about somebody that played for Miami, so I don't think the weather's the issue. But no, I mean, he did not have to be enrolled for the spring term. And it was a setup question. I didn't respect it. And I liked the fact that he gave the answer that he did, and I didn't like the reaction to it. I thought that the reaction to it was mostly unfair.
What else is coming up that you've got going in the pipe?
Well, I'm working on some basketball stories. I did a column about the Steelers' hire of Mike McCarthy, which is highly disappointing decision that the Steelers have made to go away from 55 years of history and 55 years of successful history to try something different because they think that they found the greatest quarterback coach in history. Complete nonsense. I tell you what, when you are, this is how bold Mike McCarthy is, okay? Joe Montana had won how many Super Bowls? 3 by the time he got to Kansas City. And at that point, Mike McCarthy was the offensive quality control coach for the Chiefs. And he basically sold the Steelers on the idea that he helped Joe Montana. I mean, like, that's pretty impressive, right? That'd be me like reading a book by Colson Whitehead and saying, hey, there's a comma missing. And then me taking credit for the Underground Railroad or something. Come on. He's Joe Montana. And yet you're saying that you helped him. Come on. That's beyond ridiculous. I did not respect that approach, but it helped him get the job. And he'll be the Steelers coach until he's not. But I don't have high hopes for the Steelers over the next several years as a result of that. That column's out there. I've got a pregame show tonight, 6 p.m. on FS1 in advance of Michigan State and Rutgers. And I'll be on again tomorrow night, same time. And we've got a bracket coming out. As soon as I figure out my 7s and 10s, man, Texas A&M is killing me. They played all the 7s. So I got to figure something out.
What's it going to take for Indiana to get in?
Oh, they're going to have to start winning games. I mean, I don't think it's not a function of who you have to beat right now. It's you got to beat a lot of people. That's the main thing. Now, of course, you beat Purdue, you win at UCLA or USC. If you could go 2-1 in the next 3 and then win the home game against Wisconsin, at that point, you're starting to look like a bracket team. But that's a pretty hard road.
No question. Make sure you're giving Mike a follow and keeping up with all that he has going on at the Sporting News, which is a ton. Also on the Big Ten Network, where you will find them, as he just said. Lots of big games tonight, like we talked about. Indiana with an opportunity to hand Purdue another loss, and while they're kind of suffering on that regard. But then Nebraska goes to Chrysler to take on Dusty May and the Wolverines. That is going to be a fun game to watch as well, man. Enjoy your day.
You too, Jim. Thanks.
Mike DeCourcy joining us from the Sporting News. Hey, we've got a treat up next in Campbell's Corner. Brandon Gaudin, the voice of the Braves and many other, will join us as well. Appreciate you being with us. Back with all that and more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on the Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is fun day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, and glad to be with you. Glad to be inside, to be honest, but even happier to have here in Campbell's Corner, J.D. Campbell, of course, Brandon Gaudin, Evansville native, and voice of the Atlanta Braves, and many other things, college basketball, NFL games, done a lot already in a young career. Brandon, first of all, thanks a lot for taking time. J.D., thanks for making this happen.
Brandon? I'm Jim. I'm glad to do it. Known JD for a long time, and always good to talk anything Indiana. And I know that we're going to talk Atlanta. I can tell by JD's gear that we're going to talk Atlanta.
Well, I'm going to go to the gym after that, and I proudly wear my Atlanta Braves gear when I lift. And between that and my Detroit Lions stuff, I get a lot of people telling me, hey, go Lions, go Braves. And but Brandon, I want to thank you so much for taking this time. I know that sleep and any type of rest you can get is imperative, but I want to tell people a little bit about you first, that you're a young man who grew up in Evansville as a big Braves fan. But beyond the Braves, I look at what you've done. You've done NFL football. You were with Daryl Johnston on Fox. You've done Major League Baseball National, FS1. You do basketball right now, FS1, Big Ten Network, I believe, Peacock. But the one thing that really stood out to me is being the voice of Madden. You were one of many guys to do that. And I just want to talk about, we'll go into football first. You've got obviously Indiana ties, and you've got family that's been involved in Indiana. And what was it like for you to witness what was going on, and how much money could you have made it by selling Airbnb stuff in your property when the Hoosiers came to the Peach Bowl?
I could have made a lot had my condo not flooded, and that's why I have a fake background behind me, because my condo flooded. But my gosh, JD, I mean, just like everybody else affiliated with the state, we've all kind of said the same story. You go back to the days when really Indiana football, for lack of a better way to put it, was a laughing stock. And I remember growing up in Evansville, which was a 2-hour drive from Bloomington, and my dad taking us up to watch in Indiana. Really, we were going up to watch Indiana basketball play in early November in an exhibition game against Athletes in Action. And there was a football game that started at noon. The basketball game started at 2. So before going to the basketball game, we got up there earlier. We're like, well, it's pretty easy to get tickets. I think they're just handing them out to the football game. So let's walk in. So we watched the first half of the football game, and I don't remember who they were playing, but there was nobody there. But what I do remember vividly was at halftime of the football game, everybody, whoever was in that stadium, call it 10,000 people, leaving the football game at halftime, a regular season Big Ten football game, to walk over to Assembly Hall, to watch an exhibition basketball game for Bobby Knight's Hoosiers. And that was the story of those two programs for me as a kid. It was, when is basketball season? When is basketball season? Football season was an afterthought, and you just knew that Indiana football was not going to have a winning program. And to see the climb and to have it happen so quickly here under Curt Cignetti, it has been something. And I have half my high school went to Indiana. My grandfather went there. One of my brothers went there and was a kicker there. My sister went there, and they were down, my sister and brother and my parents, down in Miami for the final. They wanted to go because they viewed that as, hopefully it's not, but a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And to see the joy through their eyes as Indiana alums, it was a special, special ride, that's for sure.
Well, today, obviously, we've got a big game here in Bloomington, Purdue and Indiana in Assembly Hall, 9 o'clock on Peacock. You've seen both teams recently. I got home from your alma mater last Tuesday night. I was at DePaul at Butler, and then I came home and I got to hear your call. Purdue was up, I think, 5 points late in the game, and they had a big man bury a three. You saw Indiana a few weeks ago at Michigan State. What do you think has to happen for Indiana to come out on top? And what do you think Purdue's thinking right now after losing their last two games? And this is the third game in 4 road games for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to say anything that I think Indiana fans would disagree with. Purdue has the better team. Can Indiana beat them? Sure. There's no question about that. The difference in their style is stark, right? Indiana, the last 7 years under Mike Woodson and Archie Miller, and obviously, JD, you know this, you were working there closely with the program, they could not shoot threes. And a lot of their scoring came inside, and now that is kind of flipped under Coach DeVries. Now they're having trouble doing anything inside the way their roster is built, but they have to hit three-pointers. And I think Purdue is kind of built where they can do both, right? They've got the outside shooting, but Purdue for so long now has always had such a dominant inside game that's what you're watching in this one. Indiana's going to have to make double-digit threes. Purdue's going to have to miss their outside shots, and they're going to have to, Indiana, speaking for them, is going to have to hope that over time, threes are more than 2, and that they can hold off and win this game. Does Indiana have the firepower? Again, yes. I think it's silly when people say, oh, Indiana can't beat them. Well, of course Indiana can beat them. Just because Purdue has the better team doesn't always win. But I think Purdue will come in incredibly focused because of those last 2 games. I was actually more surprised at the home loss to Illinois just because of how hard it is to play in Mackey. They let that game at UCLA slip away. But that was a game where, Purdue was riding high. They had won 9 in a row. UCLA had their best crowd they've had all year. And UCLA played – I've seen UCLA against Arizona and Purdue, and those are the 2 best games they played all year. They lost barely to Arizona early in the year in November, but they played extremely well against Purdue. But it surprised me when Purdue came home. And now, obviously, look, someone scores over 40 points on you, it's going to be tough, like they did with Illinois. But I think this is going to be a battle in Bloomington. Certainly, I think Purdue has the edge. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Indiana's, JD, they're going to have to make those outside shots.
You got your start in broadcasting, I believe. You were a graduate of Butler. I know you had sent a letter to Skip Carey, and he responded back to you. But you started in minor league baseball. Was it Orem, Utah? Was that?
It was.
Yeah.
Broadcast and rookie baseball. I always wanted to start with baseball because like you said, I grew up idolizing the Braves, watching them on TBS. Back then you could watch the Cubs on WGN or the Braves on TBS. That's back when the Cubs played 95% afternoon games at home. So you'd come home from school, I would watch the Cubs on WGN. And then in the evening, after I did my homework and ate my dinner and drank my milk like my parents made me, I would sit up and I would watch the Braves on TBS. And I just fell in love with the announcers. And I always told everybody from age 7 on, I loved Braves baseball. I loved broadcasting. And one day I wanted to have the chance to broadcast Atlanta Braves baseball like Skip Carey did back then. So when I went to school, I went with the thought in mind of I had a one-track focus of being a broadcaster. And my first job out of college was to call rookie league baseball games in the Pioneer League out in Utah. I made $500 a month, and then I got 20% on any radio advertising sales I brought in. So I was living on Clubhouse peanut butter and jelly and ramen out there for the first season. But look, I knew that was the start of a journey, and I was dedicated to try this profession. And thankfully, here we are, almost 2 decades later, and it's been very good to me. And I feel very blessed to be able to call games and to have the journey that I've had to this point. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. I'm very grateful. You've got to have some skill in there, but you also have to get some breaks. And I've been fortunate to have those.
One of the things I like about doing this segment every week is I try to bring in people that are grinders. I started off at a junior college, and I finished up being the publicist for a top 10 brand in college basketball. And I've been very blessed to work with some of the best in the business, and you certainly are one of them. But after you worked in Utah, you went to New York and worked for a startup company, but you had 1 year at Evansville, and then what was it like to get a call from your alma mater coming off a year where they went to the NCAA championship and then being with them through the NCAA championship and the next year? And that's where I met you, because you did our game in the Crossroads where you beat us when we were number 1.
That's right. Alex Barlow of the Butler hit a little runner in the lane. That was a heck of a game. Yeah, so just a quick sidestep, JD. I was talking about my career path and how fortunate I've been. So when I left New York to go to Evansville, I grew up going to Evansville Aces games because that was my hometown. So we cheered for Indiana, but Indiana was 2 hours away. We didn't have season tickets. We had season tickets to the Evansville Aces. So my first job in college athletics was to broadcast games for the team that I grew up watching. And then after that, I get a call from my alma mater, who, as you said, had just come off that trip to the national championship game where they lost to Duke on the Hayward buzzer beater. And I get to go and call games for my alma mater. And then you fast forward to now, and I get to broadcast games for the team that I grew up idolizing in Atlanta. So it's not lost on me how rare that is and how fortunate I am to be able to. It's one thing to call games for any team and to be their voice, but to do it for these 3 places of which I've been so passionate about is really unique and really special. And so I feel emotionally invested in the Braves. I felt emotionally invested when I was calling games in Evansville and then for Butler. And that year that I got to Butler after they were coming off the trip to the championship game, the joke was, everybody said to me, congratulations, it's a wonderful job. It's just too bad you missed being there for the chance to go to the national championship game. And then, of course, lo and behold, they did what nobody ever could have expected. And they went that next year as an 8 seed. And so I was able to be on the call at the Final Four in Houston for my alma mater. And look, that was a bucket list moment. It wasn't even on my bucket list because I didn't think it was a possibility. But I've been able to do some pretty cool things. But to be there at the Final Four courtside calling a game for your alma mater, who you were so passionate and invested in, certainly is one of the coolest things that I've ever done in my life.
Next for you, after a few years, you moved down to Atlanta, where you replaced, at least in the family tree, it was Woody Durham who you replaced? Wes, yeah. Yes. The Durham family is well known in the South, and that got you in the Atlanta market, which I think probably opened a lot of eyes because Atlanta may be a big giant city, but the sports seem very connected there. And so talk about your experience at Georgia Tech and what you were able to take from that and continue the upward climb in your career.
Yeah, when I was at Butler, I thought, well, the one thing that was missing from my resume was calling big time college football. So if I left Butler, I was going to be very choosy about where I went. I wasn't looking to leave Butler for the sake of leaving Butler. I loved that job. And I was able to broadcast other NCAA sports on TV while being in Indianapolis. So it was a great spot for me. But then the Georgia Tech job opened, and I thought, okay, I knew I wanted to be in a big city. And big cities that offer Power 5 college sports, it's few and far between, right? Maybe Stanford, Northwestern, but Georgia Tech certainly is on that list. And having the ties that I did to Atlanta, and I had some family here, I thought that's the job I really want to go hard after. And so I went at it full speed. And Wes Durham, who you mentioned, who had the job before me, was actually kind enough to meet with me before that job and kind of give me some tips and tricks before going into the interview. And I spent 3 years at Georgia Tech, and I fell in love with that place. I mean, I already knew I was going to love Atlanta, but Georgia Tech was awesome. It is such a great place. It is such a great campus. It is right down the road for me here in Atlanta. And not only that, but while I was there, Paul Johnson was the head coach, and they had really good teams. They went to and won the Orange Bowl over Dak Prescott and Mississippi State. I mean, they had a top 10 team that year. So I got to see some great football. I got to be in the city that I love, and that really kind of started me kind of connecting to the fabric of the city of Atlanta, to your point. And it is a tremendous sports city. You know, a lot of cities like to talk about how they've suffered over the years. And of course, the Falcons have had their struggles. The Braves in the postseason historically have had some struggles, but they've also won 2 World Series. It's pretty good to be a Braves fan. But this city is very passionate about its sports, and certainly college football and the SEC footprint. So, yeah, I kind of fell in love with this city and the fabric of this city. And then you fast forward to when that Braves job opened, JD, I never thought that would be the case, because we talked about Skip Carey. Well, his son, Chip Carey, had been calling games there for a long, long time, and it's tremendous and well-liked in the city. So when it was announced out of nowhere that he was leaving to take the Cardinals job, and I'm already living in Atlanta, and my dream job is opening up, I thought, well, okay, this is the chance. And thankfully, there was mutual interest. And this happened 3 years ago when that job opened. And it all happened so fast. But it was a whirlwind. I went from never thinking that job would open to 10 days later, there were papers in front of me to sign to take that job. And it almost seems like a dream the way that it happened. But now 3 years later, I've loved every minute of it and feel settled into the role.
You know, one of the things I love about broadcasters, and you had a chance, and I'm interested for you to talk about your experience with Westwood One, because you're doing NCAA tournament games. Am I correct at that? During Westwood One? And to me, when we were always in the NCAA tournament, we didn't always have access to a TV. And myself, I always had access to a car. I never traveled with the team to and from the arena most games. I had a courtesy car, and I just lived and died basically off listening to those Westwood One games. And, you know, over the years, we've had some great announcers, and, you know, you had the experience with Butler in the Final Four in Houston, but what do you remember, and what games did you get to call that might be memorable to our fans?
Well, I called Indiana, Kentucky in the second round. And JD, for the life of me, where was that game? I cannot remember. Des Moines. That was in Des Moines. That's right. I remember that being a heck of a game. And so that was a memorable one to me, just because obviously my connections to Indiana. So to call them in the NCAA tournament, if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, JD, Indiana was the 5 seed and Kentucky was the 4, right?
Yeah, that was the year the bracket got leaked, and we came in and had to play Chattanooga.
Yes.
On that Thursday night, and then, but we were sitting there for 20 minutes after the bracket had got leaked. Says, I can't believe they put us with Kentucky. Yeah, you know, because we always feel like there's no mistakes. Right, you know, and we were certainly in the prime game on CBS then. But you saw Thomas Bryant and OG Anunoby and Yogi Ferrell, and we were down, and Nick Zeisloft hit a big 3, and boom, very memorable trip for me. And And it's funny because I do remember in Des Moines, we were not at a hotel that was very close. Other places we were pretty close, and so it was a decent drive to the arena, and I was living and dying on listening to different teams play. And I do remember that was the year that Michigan State lost in the first round, I think it's a 2 seed. And maybe they lost to Middle Tennessee or something like that. But I remember our guys were cheering in the locker room for Middle Tennessee. I'm like, hey, there's cameras in here. You don't want to be, But yeah, that's really good. I mean, I just, again, I have such admiration for you. One, because you're a friend. You brought cookies from your aunt.
Yes, my Aunt Denise.
Yes. And, just I love, the other nice thing about working basketball is, one, I get to be buddies with your guy, Mike Stamus, who's now retired.
Yep.
And does official scoring, I think, still at
for the Braves.
Yeah. And what I like the most is the number of guys that do basketball games that also do baseball games, like Joe Davis and Brian Anderson, and so many more that I run up to. And so when I'm talking baseball, because baseball is really the only game that I can be a fan.
Yeah.
Well,
those two sports, those two sports, they just, for those of us that do play-by-play, they pair so well together. So football season kind of butts up against both, but for Brian Anderson, for myself, for Adam Amin, so if you do baseball and baseball comes to an end in early October, now Joe Davis obviously does a World Series, so it's longer for him, and then basketball starts in early November and ends right around when the regular season for baseball starts. Those two seasons for a play-by-play announcer marry really well together. So I love being able to do 2 to 3 college hoops games a week and then jump right into baseball when college hoops ends. And so I feel like I'm living a dream right now from that standpoint.
One of the things that as I've stepped away, I think one of the hardest things to deal with is the travel. And the difference between, like, say, NBA and NFL is maybe you're not in a city very long, whereas for you guys, usually 2, 3, and 4 game series, you have a chance to get acclimated, and then you get back on the road, and then you're home for 9 days. Give me an example of what it's like, because I know what I had to deal with as far as game's over, you do radio show, you do post game, coaches. Again, I don't think the people in baseball kind of are like basketball, where they're, hey, come on, we got to go.
Right.
But give me, let's say you play a night game that ends about 10:30, 10:45 at Citi Field, and then you got a night game the following night at Atlanta. What's that like? You're done broadcasting, you send it back to the studio. What's going on for you? And tell us how long it takes you to get to the airport. How do you eat? How does all that go?
Yeah, so there's an app that a lot of the sports teams use called Teamworks. So as soon as the final out happens, the guy who organizes travel will send out a message through the app to everybody, and it'll say bus departure is at this time, and it's always 45 minutes after the final out.
I did not think that the answer to that question was going to start with there's an app for that.
You never know, Jim. And so the everything is organized through that app, but game ends 45 minutes later, you're on the bus, you're going to the airport. Thankfully we get spoiled. You're traveling on a charter, so you just pull right up. There's quote unquote security there, but you kind of breeze through that. And then you get on the plane and you're home a couple hours later. So it's all, all these sports teams, they have to have it be so efficient, and you don't have to deal with the commercial travel. And then you get home, let's say at 1, 2 in the morning, and you're back at the yard the next day at home for a 3:30 batting practice. If you get in too late, they'll cancel batting practice that next day. but it's kind of rinse and repeat. But you're right. With baseball, the difference is you go on a 7-day road trip. You're in 2 different cities. You can kind of unpack your suitcase a little bit, but the road trips are a little longer. So it's a little bit of both. I like the style of it. The difference now for me in basketball, obviously, is like tonight I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to go to Cincinnati. I have to think. When I'm with the Braves, I don't think. I just follow wherever the app tells me to go and everything's taken care of. But tonight I got to take the commercial flight, get up there, make sure I got my hotel right, the rental car and everything, call the game, and then fly back early Thursday morning. So I love both. I truly do. I'm not just saying that, but it is a different speed to switch from the Braves where everything is taken care of, and then you got to kind of go back into, oh yeah, who booked my hotel? Where is it? Where's my flight? Where am I going? But look, it's on the road a lot, but it's a great gig. I won't complain about it.
Now I have one favor to ask before we let you go. Okay. In 2028, my hometown of Las Vegas is getting the stadium. I would call them not the Las Vegas A's. I'd call them the Las Vegas Strip, and completely rebrand.
It'd have to be strips. Las Vegas
Strips.
Strips.
Could be steaks. You could have the poles. You could have pole night. Hey, but what I want to do is someday when I know the Braves are going to be out there, I will get tickets, and I don't need to get them from you because I know you're very generous. I would just like to be able that once you woke up, that you'd let me take you on a tour of what the town really is. And not just the Strip.
JD, that sounds very scary. But I'll tell you what,
I'll
take you. I feel like we could have Hangover Part 4 coming here, but I'll take you up on it.
No, you'll gain some weight. You'll gain some, I'll take you to some dive food places, which I know they have in Atlanta too. Those places that are off the beaten path are the best.
They do. They do. I'll take you up on that. I'll leave you the tickets. We'll make it happen.
Okay.
Hey, Brandon, before we let you go, what were your interactions with the Carey family? Because I know that the Chip and Skip, obviously involvement with the Braves, but their dad and grandpa, very, very, especially for those in my age group, Harry Carey was one of the greatest just of all time. And because he was kind of became a character of himself, but he wasn't really. That was kind of how he was. And it was great. And I have it's my favorite sports story that I have ever had happen to me. And from the time I was a peon, taking classes taught by JD's predecessor, Kit Klingelhofer at IU, to actually starting working in the things. I was a production assistant for CBS Major League games, and we were in Cincinnati. They're playing the Cubs, and there was a girl doing the same thing I was doing. She said, "Hey, after the game, we'll go up and get Harry's autograph," which I didn't care. I was a Reds fan. So I'm like, but I had friends that were the Cubs fan. I'm like, all right, I'll get one for this dude, and I'll get one for myself because it's Harry Carey. Grabbed a couple balls off the field during BP, kept them later on after the game was over. She led the way. We went upstairs to the booth they're in, their booth, and there was only 4 of us in line, and I'm first in line. Hey, Mr. Carey, would you mind signing my ball? Yeah, he signs it. Carey, would you mind signing one for a friend of mine? No, I signed your ball. Get out of here. There was only 4 of us in line, but I'm thinking, he's had plenty of buds by the Budweisers by this time, as was his nature. And so I'm like, I'll just go through the line again. He won't remember me. And I get up there. Hi, Mr. Carey. Would you mind saying, I signed your ball, you son of a bitch. Get the hell out of here. And so getting cussed out by Harry Carey is my favorite sports memory of all time. But but you thank you so much for taking time, and especially thanks to JD for making that happen. But I love hearing this stuff. And there's so much more we could talk about. Love to have you on again to talk more about it, because you have encountered so many great stories along the way, and appreciate you so much.
Absolutely, guys. Happy to come back anytime, and appreciate you having me. JD, keep wearing that Atlanta hat. I like it.
Oh,
it looks great.
He doesn't mind. I gave him my Cincinnati jacket, and I forgot he's a damn Braves fan.
And I wear it. Look, as Brandon said, Cable's the reason why I'm a Braves fan. because I could watch 162. Whereas I was a big Red Machine guy up until about 80. Once Spence retired, I went to Dale Murphy. Dale Murphy was my guy. And, of course, now you got another Hall of Famer going in. That's great. Always exciting to watch you guys. I only listen to you. I do not listen to any visiting broadcast ever.
Well, I'm honored. You and my mother, JD. You and my mother.
You know,
you can add me to that list. I really enjoy listening to people that are good that I know, or I can't say that I know you, but we've at least met. But I love listening to good broadcasts. And
it's the best.
Indiana is so fortunate to have someone like Don Fisher, but all these teams are so lucky to have the guys that they have because they just develop a voice for that team. And it truly becomes the voice that people just associate with. I mean, they're going to think of you and the Braves as one. They're going to think of, back in the day, it was Skip Carey and whatever. But, man, it's what a great association and something to be really proud of, to be honest with you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's an honor. And like I said, when I got the job, sometimes when you get these gigs, you have to fall in love with the team. I didn't have to fall in love with the team. I've loved the team since I was 7 years old. So it was a thing for me that felt very natural, and I'm fortunate to be able to do it.
Winning sure helps that.
Yes, it does.
And the Atlanta Braves do nothing but a lot of winning. Got to let him go. Appreciate you so much for your time, Brandon.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy.
Thanks,
go get some Skyline chili tomorrow.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I'll get some Grater's ice cream. We'll do that.
Exactly. Yes.
On the way out, one of his great calls.
Throws it up top. Jones intercepts it in the front court. 1 second. Puts up a floater. Throws it up. Jones with a runner. At the buzzer. Butler has knocked off Gonzaga. 64 to 63. Unbelievable.
When was that call?
2013. Butler was
Wow.
having an okay year, and Gonzaga came in top 10 ranked, and that was the first time ever that College Game Day came to Hinkle Fieldhouse. And, yeah, they looked dead to rights. Gonzaga had the ball up 1 inside of 10 seconds, and Roosevelt Jones intercepted that pass and went down. And that's still the loudest I've ever heard Hinkle Fieldhouse. I've been to a lot of games there, but that was unbelievable.
Yeah. That'll certainly do it. Brandon, again, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Take care, buddy.
Brandon Gaudin joining JD in Campbell's Corner, and we've got more coming up. JD is going to stick around. We will be back with all that and much more right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is Fun Day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas from mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on the Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. And I'm not going to lie, JD Campbell with me. Glad to be inside as looking outside the studio windows. And I see a full foot of snow out there, JD. I know you also live in the Bloomington area as well, but I would imagine you got about the same.
Yeah, we did. And the thing for me is just how cold it got. Last night it was -1. Now it's balmy. Maybe it's 10 or 12 degrees, supposed to get up to 25, which hopefully that will make for easy traveling. I expect a sellout crowd tonight. I expect a rowdy crowd. And when you play Purdue, anything can happen. But it was good that IU went into a place like Rutgers. And again, forget the records. Rutgers is a very difficult trip, especially when you're coming off a Tuesday night game and then you got to fly in to the metro area on Thursday night and play. They were lucky to play Friday, I think, because that way they got home late, early morning, late evening. Because, again, you never know what the traffic is going to be like. And you're generally flying out of Newark. And so you get in, you get out, and hopefully you got home. It was cold, but when the snow hit, man, oh man, it's been a while since I think we've had this much snow. And I'm going to try to go out here in a few minutes and go to my gym, but I'm really looking forward to tonight. I think this is one of the hardest parts of the season because you're not close enough to the postseason, and there's so much that can happen. And Indiana coming away convincingly with a win, I think only helps their mental frame of mind. And if they can get hot early and put some pressure on Purdue, that enhances their chances, Jim.
Oh, and they, without question, need it right now because they just don't have the depth. And I'm not saying that they cannot win the game, but it's going to be an epic challenge. I'm also not going to lie. Purdue is really good. They have really good guards. That has been such a problem for Indiana this year, and I'm surprised at that because I was thinking that their defense was going to be one of their hallmarks and help them. But man, anytime they've played a perimeter player that comes in and is good, they have been able to go off and score their average or better against Indiana. And they cannot let that happen with Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer. But with Braden Smith, it's a double-edged sword. Not only do you got to prevent him from scoring, you've got to prevent him from getting the ball to guys that score because he does that very well. Fletcher Lawyer is a guy that he's hit or miss, it seems. And man, if you can really defend him, you can if you get him off the game, then you got a chance. But Indiana, at the same time, they have to be hitting 3-point shots. And more importantly, they're going to have to rebound the ball better. They cannot give Purdue a ton of second chance shots on missed 3-pointers, especially with the long rebounds and whatnot. And having Clough inside, he's probably going to beat the crap up out of Reed Bailey. But someone is going to have to take care of Trey Kaufman-Wren on top of that. So it's an epic challenge for Indiana. There's no doubt. Can it happen? Of course. We've seen it happen many times inside Assembly Hall. It's the same reverse if it was at up in West Lafayette. So it should be a raucous crowd, like you said. They're going to need that, JD. They're going to need every bit of it. They need that home court advantage because they need everything they can get as this season has progressed. The Big Ten alone is tough. This is not going to be the only gigantic challenge they face. There are so many teams, but we've seen them. They had Nebraska down 16 points in the second half, JD, and just couldn't hold that. This is a team that's undefeated in the Big Ten, which is a whole nother story we got to talk about. Freaking Nebraska may be going undefeated in basketball in the Big Ten. Just if they were able to complete that journey, that would be remarkable. I don't see it happening, but hell, they're pretty damn far along.
Well, last night, I think, was a great testament to you have to play 40 minutes. Arizona was at BYU. Arizona built a 19-point second half lead, and it took a really athletic block shot with BYU down at the rim. And look, the one score that really surprised me the most this past weekend was USC going into Wisconsin and win. You know,
oh, yeah.
And so, look, if you take a night off mentally,
they did something they have not been able to do in seems like 60 decades.
But I mean, if you take a night off, and that's where the grind is right now, because you're not close enough to the postseason to where you've got something to look forward to. Nobody is really eliminated yet. Although the bottom of the Big Ten, Northwestern and Rutgers and Maryland, those teams are going to have to win the Big Ten tournament. But if you can get on a roll, you got a shot. And those quad one wins will be right in front of you. And if you could find a way to win at home and go 50-50 on the road, when it's all said and done, then you're going to be right there in contention for the NCAA tournament. And you go into the Big Ten tournament knowing, hey, do we got to win one? Do we got to win two? Whereas other teams maybe know, hey, we're comfortably in. So they don't come to the Big Ten tournament with the same sharpness and mindset. And that's going to be something to see play out. But it's way too early to be down on a team, and it's way too early to think your team can win it all, because one injury, a difficult schedule that just happens to fall when it happens to fall, and this whole thing can become chaos, and it's going to be chaos across the country.
Yeah, and now we have to wonder, is this the year of the Big Ten? Because they have not. This is kind of similar to how football had been going, where when the SEC had just ran roughshod with mostly with Alabama, but you threw in Georgia there, LSU, a time when they were winning the football national championship. And now there's been a changing of the guard. The Big Ten has won 3 in a row. They are already their favorite. They have 2 different teams favored to win it again next season. And the SEC was not a basketball conference. It just wasn't. It was football. Boom. And all of a sudden last year, like, wait, what? What the hell? Almost every team in the conference made the tournament. They're not having that same similar luck this year. And the Big Ten is yet as deep as I've seen them in a long time with good teams. Does that guarantee a national champion? Nope. Because when you get down to the Final Four, whomever that is, Arizona is still good. There's always good teams out there, and any team can lose on any given day. That's the great thing we love about the NCAA tournament. You think back of those first-round losses to great teams, and you're like, wow. But is this the year of the Big Ten, man? Can they knock this off? And who is really capable of winning it all, winning those 6 games that it takes? Michigan State, Michigan, is Purdue, is Nebraska, is Illinois. Those are the teams that I think have that chance, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of luck, JD, as you know. It takes everything coming together at the same time.
Well, I think, I certainly agree with you that the Big Ten, if some of the teams in the middle of the pack can maybe go on a little bit of a run, maybe the schedule is favorable for them at home, maybe they've gotten some of their tough games out of the way, or you may have some teams that have had kind of an easier slate, and it's going to get more difficult. But the whole thing about basketball is stay healthy. You got to stay healthy, and you got to be in shape. And the thing that makes the Big Ten so tough is the weather. Because, look, when you, in the old Pac-12, you didn't have very many weather delays flying from LA to San Francisco. Here, you're lucky if you can, sometimes you're sitting on the tarmac de-icing for hours. I always loved the trip to Purdue and the trip to Illinois because we drove. We really didn't have to deal with any of those issues. We did it. We traveled in some snowstorms both those times, but you just see the grind. And UCLA, Mick Cronin was harping about, hey, we had this many early on, but now he's got a lot at home. And if you play too many games at home, Jim, then you worry about complacency because you do feel you have a sharpness about yourself when you go on the road. If you're not ready on the road, you're going to get trucked. But if you can make it to the last 5 minutes, anything can happen. Anything
exactly.
can happen.
We've seen that because the 3-point shot, number one, teams have gotten so good at managing, coaches as well, at managing that last minute of a game. How many times did we see Indiana last year lose a game in the last seconds simply because of mistakes that were made? That comes down to coaching, period. Not to say that any mistake a player makes is the coach's fault. No, I'm not saying that. But when you see a breakdown in communication, when you see a breakdown in doing things the way they're supposed to do, that's coaching, that's practice. That's why, and gosh, dang, and I hate to do this, but compare it to Indiana football and Signetti, how they do things, how they structure their practices. It's not about 3-hour practices. Man, they're opposite. It's do it right, be efficient, don't make mistakes. And I don't know if doing it less gives more confidence to the guys and gives them a feeling of, hey man, they really trust me to do this. I don't know. I can't answer that, but it's you can tell when teams make silly mistakes and when they don't, and there's a reason why that happens.
Well, I think you just have to look at it, Jim, from where I sat. It's a game-to-game basis, and again, you never know what's in the mind. And we used to say 18 to 22, but I know the age is a lot higher now. But you never know what's going on in their mind and who has what's going, do you have this problem? Are you having problems with your girlfriend? Do you have issues at home? So the coaches, I've never been around a coaching staff that doesn't have the kids prepared. They may not execute. And again, when I say they, it's the players that have to execute. And I'm not here just to side with coaches all the time. But as a former player myself, I never felt the coaches were responsible for the games. I felt like I was responsible. And a player-led team is a team that is going to come through more times than not. Sometimes you just get beat by a talented team. But
no doubt. I missed a break, so I got to squeeze this one in real quick, and then we'll finish her out. J.D. Campbell with us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you with us. Back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on the Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is fun day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. It is still snowbound, snow-covered, but you Indiana fans be getting out tonight to catch the Hoosiers on the basketball court hosting the Boilermakers, who are in need of a win. J.D. Campbell with me. They've lost 2 in a row, man, so they're desperate for a win. I don't want to say desperate, but they are, to stay in the Big Ten race. They've already got 2 losses in the league, where there's 4 other teams with just 1 loss right now. Of course, that'll change, but man, it's a tough road to hoe in this league this year, JD.
Well, it's a tough road to hoe every year in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten, the schools have invested in basketball, and there's expectations at places. And now with the transfer portal, you're seeing, and you saw it in football, different places have different philosophies and different abilities to utilize transfer portal in a positive way. I look at the Big Ten, starting in 11-12, and the 4 out of 5 years we went to the NCAA tournament 3 times, the Sweet 16. You look at the number of pros that are there.
Yep, and we'll see a lot more in football coming up with the upcoming draft. That's going to be fun to watch, and man, what a great day we had today, and I've got to give a big thanks to JD for Campbell's Corner, another great one with Brandon Gaudin, voice of the Braves, voice of college basketball. You can hear him all around, man. He's all Evansville native. Everybody down there on 97.7 The Ref, very familiar with him, former voice of the Evansville Purple Aces. JD, I can't thank you enough as always, man.
Thank you, Jim. Stay warm.
Hey, we're back tomorrow to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.